Jungkook whispered something to Jimin. Security moved in immediately. "They're watching us, run." The words were barely audible, like a breath against a storm, but they hit Jimin with the force of a freight train. Jungkook's eyes, wide and burning with something close to desperation, didn't match the soft hum of music that still pulsed from the stadium's distant speakers. The world outside roared with cheers. Inside the backstage hallway, time froze. Jimin blinked. What? But it was too late. Security surged in, black suits and cold expressions, filling the narrow corridor with the thunder of boots. Hands reached. Voices barked. Someone shouted a command in a language Jimin didn't recognize. Jungkook moved fast, too fast, grabbing Jimin by the wrist and pulling him into a service door just before it slammed shut behind them. The sound of metal locking echoed like a gunshot. They ran. Dim emergency lights painted their skin in flickering orange. Pipes hissed above them. The air smelled like sweat and rust. Jungkook didn't speak again, not yet, but his grip on Jimin's wrist was urgent, trembling. Jimin's mind reeled with questions, but fear silenced them. His heart pounded in sync with their footfalls. This wasn't part of the tour schedule. This wasn't anything he understood. Only minutes earlier, they had stood side by side backstage, sweaty, exhausted, exhilarated after their last encore. Jungkook had leaned in casually, a grin still playing on his lips from the show. Then that whisper, and everything turned. Now, in the belly of the arena, chased by their own security team, Jimin's breath came in short bursts. They turned another corner, another set of doors, another corridor that looked identical to the last. "Where are we going?" Jimin gasped, struggling to keep up. Jungkook finally looked back. Out, away, before they lock everything down. He didn't say who they were. They burst through a steel door and into a sub-level parking garage, deserted and echoing. A lone fluorescent light flickered above, casting long shadows. Jungkook finally let go of Jimin's wrist, packing like a caged animal. "We don't have much time," he muttered, more to himself. Jimin stared at him. "What the hell is going on, Jungkook?" Jungkook looked at him, really looked at him, and for a moment Jimin saw fear, raw and human, in the eyes of someone who had always seemed untouchable. He saw something else too, guilt, maybe even shame. "There's something I need to tell you," Jungkook said quietly. "Something I should have told you months ago." Before he could continue, tires screeched. A convoy of black SUVs swarmed the edge of the garage like sharks circling blood. Their lights cut through the dark, blinding. Doors opened. Boots hit concrete. "Down!" someone shouted through a megaphone. Jungkook's face hardened. "They won't listen, we need proof." Jimin froze as two laser dots danced across the floor near his feet. "Don't move," came another shout. Then everything happened at once. Jungkook pushed him behind a pillar just as a dart whizzed past and clattered against the cement wall. A tranquilizer? Jimin's head swam with disbelief. This wasn't real. This was a nightmare dressed in tailored suits and protocols. "They think I told you," Jungkook said, crouched low beside him. "And maybe I did. Maybe that's enough to make us both disappear." Jimin's throat was dry. "Told me what?" Jungkook didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a flash drive. He pressed it into Jimin's hand like it burned him. "Don't lose this, no matter what." Another flash of light, another shout. Jungkook stood and raised his hands. "Stop," Jimin called out instinctively. But the men moved in with clinical precision. Jungkook didn't resist, didn't fight. He looked back once, just once, and his eyes said everything he couldn't. They dragged him away. Jimin stood there, frozen behind the pillar, trembling with the flash drive clutched in his palm. It was still warm. "You're telling me you don't know where he is?" Namjoon's voice cracked through the sterile silence of the dressing room like a whip. His jaw was clenched, knuckles white around the edge of the table where makeup kits lay forgotten. Jin sat nearby, stone-faced, arms crossed, his eyes flickering toward the door every few seconds. Jimin didn't respond immediately. He stood by the mirror, motionless, his reflection pale and distant. The room was too bright, too quiet, except for the dull roar of the crowd still outside, oblivious to the storm brewing behind the scenes. "I don't know," Jimin said finally. "They took him, I saw it." "Took him where?" Taehyung asked, stepping forward. "You said security moved in, but why? What did Jungkook say to you?" Jimin hesitated. The flash drive was still in his back pocket, pressing into his skin like a hidden wound. He couldn't tell them. Not yet. "He just panicked," Jimin said, avoiding their eyes. "Said we had to run, that someone was watching us." Hosok exhaled sharply, packing. "Jesus, you realize how insane this sounds. This isn't a spy movie, Jimin. This is real life." "Is it?" Jimin shot back. "Because none of this feels real." Jin stood. "Enough. We need to figure out where they took him and why, if this is some kind of..." The door opened. A man in a gray suit stepped inside. Not someone from their usual crew. His face was blank, forgettable, but his eyes were sharp, too sharp. "Park Jimin," he said calmly. "You'll come with me." "Who the hell are you?" Namjoon demanded, stepping in front of Jimin. The man's gaze didn't waver. "Security clearance level does not authorize me to disclose that. Mr. Park, this way." "No," Namjoon said. The man moved his hand slightly. Not a weapon, a badge, black embossed, no logo. Jimin's blood turned cold. "Wait," he said, stepping forward, surprising even himself. "I'll go." Taehyung grabbed his arm. "Jimin." "It's fine." It was, but he had to know, he had to see. They led him through unfamiliar corridors beneath the arena, past places no idol was meant to see. Flickering lights, exposed wires, the scent of bleach and metal. The air grew colder the deeper they went. It felt like descending into a forgotten bunker. Finally, the man stopped before a heavy steel door. "He's inside." Jimin entered. Jungkook sat on a metal bench, hands bound, a cut on his lip. He looked up, and for a second, just a second, the mask dropped. Relief. Then it was gone. "What the hell is happening, Jungkook?" Jimin whispered. Jungkook looked at the cameras mounted on the ceiling, then back at Jimin. "You shouldn't have come. You dragged me into this. You whispered to me. You made me run." "Because they were going to take you too." "Why?" "Because you're the only one I trust." The room was silent except for the hum of the fluorescent lights. Jimin stepped closer, dropping his voice to a breath. "I have it." Jungkook's eyes flared. "Don't say that here." "They're listening anyway." "I told you not to lose it, not to announce it like a damn news anchor." Jimin crouched down in front of him. "Then tell me what the hell is on it." Jungkook glanced toward the mirror on the wall. One-way glass, no doubt. He exhaled slowly. "It's a leak." "A leak?" "Proof about the contracts, the experiments." Jimin's face tightened. "What experiments?" "They've been monitoring us," Jungkook whispered. "Not just our public lives, our vitals, our behavior, biodata mining, psychological mapping, sleep cycles, biometric stress responses, brainwave readings. It's not just the company, Jimin, it's bigger." "You're telling me they've been experimenting on us?" Jungkook nodded. "You're paranoid," Jimin said. This is crazy." "Is it? Then explain why we haven't had a free moment alone in 3 years. Why everything we do is tracked, timed, scheduled down to the second. Why I found a microchip inside my jacket lining." Jimin opened his mouth, then closed it. There had always been rumors, whispers among the staff, but they had all laughed them off. Idle life was intense. Everything was controlled. That's what they signed up for, right? Except no one signed up for this. The door burst open. 2 guards stormed in. "Time up." They pulled Jimin back. Jungkook surged forward, yelling, "Don't let them take it, don't trust anyone." The door slammed shut between them. "You're not supposed to know this." The voice was calm, calculated, female. Jimin spun around, the flash drive still warm in his hand, breath shallow. Standing in the middle of his hotel room was someone who hadn't been there a second ago. She wore all black, her presence ghost-like yet undeniably real. Not security, not staff, something else. "Who are you?" Jimin demanded, his heart pounding. She smiled faintly. "I used to work on the Seraphim project, until I didn't." Jimin backed away, one hand reaching toward his nightstand where he kept his phone. "Don't bother," she said, eyes following him. "Your phone's been disabled. Your room's off the network. They've been monitoring you since the moment Jungkook disappeared. I'm here to help you before they make you disappear." "You're full of shit." She stepped closer. "Then why haven't you told the others what you saw?" Jimin flinched. The truth stung because it was naked, and she wielded it like a scalpel. "Because you know," she continued. "You know this isn't just about contracts or surveillance. This is something else, something darker." He didn't answer. "I was the neural compliance lead," she said. "I saw the tests, the manipulation, the override codes they embedded into Jungkook's sessions. They were trying to control emotional triggers, induce loyalty, obedience, suppress rebellion. Except Jungkook resisted. He wasn't supposed to." Jimin's skin turned cold. "You're saying they tried to control his mind?" "They did, not just his, all of yours, but he was the anomaly. His brainwaves rejected their programming. They panicked, and now they're cleaning house." Jimin shook his head. "No, this is insane." She reached into her jacket and tossed something onto the bed. A photo. It was him, hooked up to the same monitors, the same hospital bed. "This was 3 years ago. You don't remember because they wiped the recall layer of your hippocampus. But the body remembers, Jimin. That's why you've had sleep paralysis, night sweats, flashbacks that never made sense." His throat was tight. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I can't stop them alone. But you're already inside the machine." The door rattled. Someone tried the handle. A keycard beeped. She was gone in an instant. Jimin stood there, frozen, until the door swung open and Taehyung rushed in. "Dude, what the hell is going on? Your phone's off. The staff says you've been locked in here for hours." Jimin tried to hide the flash drive, the photo too late. Taehyung saw the look on his face and shut the door behind him. "Talk," he said. "Now." Jimin didn't know where to start. His lips moved, then stopped. Then he said the only thing that felt true. "They did something to us, T." "What?" 3 years ago, maybe more, I don't remember it, but I know now. Jungkook was right." Taehyung blinked. "Jimin, this sounds like a breakdown." "I thought so too, until I saw the files. Our names are in them. They've been collecting biometric data, running psychological experiments, using override codes." "Override, like mind control." Jimin nodded. "You're serious?" "I wish I was." Taehyung stared at him, torn between disbelief and the gnawing suspicion that it might all be true. Then he sat down, hard. "Holy shit." Jimin opened the laptop again, played part of the video. Taehyung turned pale. That's not editing. It's real." They sat in silence, the weight of it pressing down like a heavy fog. "Does Namjoon know?" Taehyung asked. "No, not yet. I don't know who we can trust." "I've known Namjoon since we were kids, Jimin. And I've known Jungkook, and I watched them drag him away like a criminal." "Okay," Taehyung whispered. "So what now?" "We find out who's behind this. We find Jungkook, and we end this." Outside, the city glittered like nothing was wrong. But inside, the walls of safety and trust were crumbling. Later that night, Jimin dreamt of wires. Cold needles pressing into his skull. A voice counting backwards from 10. A woman whispering something in a language he couldn't understand. He woke up screaming. The next morning, the entire internet exploded. Whereas Jungkook was trending globally. Armies flooded timelines, demanding answers. The official company statement said Jungkook is recovering from exhaustion, but no one believed it. Rumors began to spiral. Fan cams showed footage of him being escorted off stage. Others claimed he had been detained. Some even whispered about corporate cover-ups and experimentation. The media swarmed. Paparazzi, followed the remaining members like vultures. In the chaos, Jimin and Taehyung met in secret. Namjoon, asking questions, T said. He cornered the manager and almost got kicked off the premises. Good, Jimin said. Let him dig. We still need to talk to Jin. I know. But before they could move forward, something else dropped. A hacked video file appeared online. No one knew where it came from. It showed Jungkook in a sterile white room. His voice was calm, too calm. My name is Jeon Jungkook, he said. If you're watching this, I'm probably already gone. Jimin's heart cracked. I was part of something called Project Seraphim. I didn't volunteer. None of us did. We were trained, monitored, rewritten, over and over again. They said it was to keep us safe, to make us perfect. But it was always about control. The video cut out mid-sentence. The world went into meltdown. Jimin stared at the blank screen, hands trembling, knowing it was only the beginning. Because now, the whole world was listening. You uploaded it. Namjoon's voice was a low thunder, shaking the walls more than the words themselves. Tell me you didn't. Tell me that wasn't you. Jimin didn't flinch. The cold air of the rehearsal studio wrapped around them like static, tension pulsing in every molecule. Behind Namjoon, the other members stood frozen. Jin's arms were crossed, his mouth set in a hard line. Hoseok looked like he hadn't slept. Taehyung stood by Jimin, unmoving, silent. The silence screamed louder than any of them dared to. I didn't upload it, Jimin said, but I know who did. And who the hell would even have that footage? Namjoon snapped. You think that kind of leak happens by accident? No, I think someone inside wants the truth out just as badly as we do. Namjoon's jaw flexed, his eyes burning. Do you have any idea what you've done? The label is in chaos. Our contracts are being reviewed by corporate lawyers. The ministry is looking into unauthorized neurological testing. You blew a fuse that could bring everything down. Then let it burn, Jimin said, voice low and deadly. Namjoon stepped forward. You think this is heroic. This isn't a movie, Jimin. This is our lives, everything we built, everything we suffered to protect. Protect from what? Jimin cut in. From the truth, from being seen as victims instead of idols. We're not victims, Namjoon growled. No, Jimin's hands trembled, but not with fear. Then explain to me why I woke up last night bleeding from a scar I don't remember getting. Explain why my dreams are filled with screams and cold metal tables and electrodes I never signed up for. Namjoon faltered, just for a second, but Jimin saw it, the crack, the hesitation, the knowing. You remember, Jimin said softly, don't you? The others looked at Namjoon. He didn't answer. I've seen the footage, Jimin continued. Not just of Jungkook, of all of us, including you. They did things to our minds, Namjoon, rewrote responses, suppressed memories. I know it sounds insane, but I saw it. And you felt it too, haven't you? I thought I was losing my mind, Namjoon whispered. All this time. You were. For the first time in what felt like years, the room shifted. Not toward peace, but clarity. A shared madness finally unveiled. Where's Jungkook now? Hoseok asked quietly. I don't know, Jimin said, but we're going to find him. The doors burst open. A dozen men in dark suits poured in, clean-cut, identical, anonymous. Not staff, not fans. Government. The lead agent, a man with cold gray eyes and a diplomatic pin, stepped forward. Kim Namjoon, Park Jimin, you're to come with us immediately. Jin moved. Under what grounds? The agent barely spared him a glance. National security. Compliance order signed under Clause 7C of the Cultural Asset Protection Act. We're not assets, Jimin spat. That's a matter of opinion. Namjoon nodded. We'll go. Are you out of your mind? Taehyung hissed. If we don't go, they'll come back harder. To the rest of you, Namjoon said. Keep quiet, stay out of sight, and trust no one. The black vans drove them deep into the city. An underground complex below a tech conglomerate's headquarters. Fluorescent lights, biometric scanners, surveillance humming in every wall. They were separated. Interrogated. Jimin sat under a glaring bulb, flanked by 2 agents. A third circled him like a predator. You've been in contact with rogue personnel. No. You've uploaded classified data. No. You possess data from Project Seraphim. Silence. The agent leaned in. We know you've seen the files. Then you already know the truth. The man slammed his hand on the table. The truth is irrelevant. National stability, public trust, global influence, those are what matter now. You used us like lab rats. We elevated you. You were nothing until we made you gods. Do you think any of you would have survived a month without us? You controlled us. We optimized you. Jungkook resisted, Jimin said, his voice cracking. That's why he's gone, isn't it? The agent's eyes glittered. He failed the obedience retention protocols, so yes, we contain the error. Jimin stood so fast the chair screeched back. He's not an error, he's a human being. Then act like one, the agent hissed. Cooperate, tell us who helped you. No. The agent smiled coldly. Then you'll join him soon enough. Before they could move, the lights flickered. Then died. Emergency lights kicked in, red and ominous. Alarms blared. The door burst open. Smoke rolled in. A hand grabbed Jimin's wrist, familiar, strong. Jungkook. His face was bruised, eyes wild but very much alive. Come on, he rasped. They ran. Down corridors bathed in crimson light, past bodies slumped from some kind of gas, sirens howling. How are you here? Jimin gasped. No time, Jungkook said, but I'm not alone. A woman appeared beside them, the same woman from Jimin's hotel room. This time she carried a weapon, and her badge said one word, whistle. We're a shadow unit, she said as they fled through a blast door. Created by the government, then betrayed by it. They emerged into a subway tunnel. A train waited, lights dimmed. Inside, Taehyung, Jin, and Hoseok were already seated, eyes wide as Jimin and Namjoon stumbled in behind Jungkook. No one spoke for several minutes. The train lurched forward. I thought you were dead, Jimin said, voice cracking as he looked at Jungkook. I thought I was too, Jungkook whispered. But they made a mistake, they let me remember. Namjoon leaned forward. What now? Jungkook met every pair of eyes in that cabin. Now, he said, we expose everything. No one noticed the camera, hidden in the vent above their heads, silently streaming every word to a secure server. But someone was watching. And they were smiling. The train roared into the abandoned tunnel like a metal serpent, sparks flying as it screeched along rusted rails. They were underground, deep below Seoul's forgotten infrastructure, where no GPS could track them and no fan cams could leak what was unfolding. Dim emergency lights flickered above their heads, painting them in reds and shadows. Inside the train car, the silence was deafening. Then Namjoon stood up, face pale and unreadable. His voice was low but sharp as a blade. Someone's leaking our plans. Jimin froze. Hoseok turned slowly. What are you talking about? We only told each other what we were doing, no one else. But when we got grabbed, they knew everything. The drive, the woman, even the fact that I was about to speak with a journalist 2 days ago. Taehyung narrowed his eyes. You think it's one of us? Namjoon didn't answer immediately. His stare drifted between each of them like a storm cloud gathering weight. Then he looked at Jungkook. You escaped, on your own. Then you knew where to find Jimin, then us. You show up with this woman, and now you're leading the plan. Jungkook's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes flickered. You think I'm the leak. I think I don't know you anymore, Namjoon said, and that terrifies me. You think I wanted this? Jungkook snapped, stepping forward. You think I wanted to be drugged, restrained, tortured, watched? I've lived in hell for 3 months. I was in their facility under constant sedation. They tried to reset me. I had to pretend I'd broken, that I was loyal. I broke myself just to survive. You never told us that, Jin said quietly. Jungkook's voice cracked. Because I didn't want you to look at me like this. Taehyung finally stood. You're all so paranoid you can't see what matters. He's here. He's alive. We're together. We have the files. We're finally doing something. Namjoon walked to the edge of the car, placed a hand on the fogged window. They'll come after us harder now. They won't risk another leak. This isn't damage control anymore. It's eradication. So we disappear, Jungkook said. We go dark. Where? Hoseok asked. We can't just vanish. We're the most recognizable faces in Asia. The woman, who still hadn't given them a name, spoke up from the rear of the cabin. There's a compound in Busan, under whistle protection. Safe house protocols, subterranean entry, off-grid. If we make it there, we can regroup. Plan the broadcast. What broadcast? Jin asked. The full dump, Jungkook said. Not just files. Video, audio, signed memos. The whole Seraphim project from conception to execution, with commentary, global scale. Jimin rubbed his hands through his hair. They'll kill us. They'll try, Jungkook said, but they'll lose. The train came to a halt with a metallic shriek. The cabin lights shut off completely. The woman opened the door. Let's go. We've got less than an hour before this route's on the scanner grid again. They emerged into a subterranean maze of catwalks and damp tunnels. Rats scattered. The air smelled of rot and ozone. Above, no more than 10 meters, the city bustled in blissful ignorance. Jungkook led, the woman at his side, whispering instructions in a clipped dialect none of them recognized. Jimin stayed close to Taehyung. His heart still hadn't slowed since they got out. He felt watched. More than just paranoia. And then gunfire. Not near, but not far enough either. We have movement, the woman barked into her comm. Quadrant 4, countermeasures. Negative, a voice replied. Evac now. Suddenly, they were running again. Namjoon cursed under his breath as they pounded down the wet tunnel floors, boots slipping on grime. Another shot rang out, this one sparking against the steel railing inches from Jin's head. Sniper, Hoseok shouted. Jungkook spun, grabbed a smoke grenade from the woman's belt, pulled the pin and tossed it behind them. White fog exploded, covering their trail. By the time they burst into a rusted maintenance hatch and slammed it shut behind them, their lungs burned. Taehyung collapsed against the wall, coughing hard. Jimin leaned over, heart hammering. What the hell was that? Namjoon growled. Proof we're too close, the woman said. They're accelerating the cleanup. A harsh beep echoed through the tunnel. Jimin pulled his phone from his jacket. No signal, but the screen lit up. An incoming message from a number with no name. We know where you're going. You have 12 hours. The phone melted in his hand, overheated and short-circuited in a burst of sparks. He threw it down, skin burned. They just sent us a warning, Jimin muttered, eyes wide. No, Jungkook said. They sent us a countdown. 12 hours. The train station was dead behind them, the safe house ahead. But now, there was no going back. Back at headquarters, a man in a white coat leaned over a bank of monitors, watching the footage of their escape in silence. Did you inject subject KJK with the dormant sequence? Asked a voice behind him. The scientist nodded. 3 days before he broke out, it's in him, but it needs a trigger. What kind? The scientist smiled faintly. Emotional stress, betrayal, loss. The man behind him smirked. Then let's give him all 3. Rain lashed against the windshield of the stolen van as it barreled down the coastal highway toward Busan. Inside, silence smothered the cramped space, broken only by the intermittent beeping of Taehyung's GPS jammer. The sea stretched endlessly beside them, black and indifferent. No lights, no signs, just the storm, the road, and the countdown ticking in everyone's head. Jungkook sat in the passenger seat, staring ahead with dead eyes. His fingers drummed the side of the door unconsciously, tap, 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 a rhythm only he seemed to hear. Jimin sat behind him, watching, not speaking. He hadn't said a word since the message, since the phone burned in his palm. 12 hours. Now 7. I'm starting to feel like we're heading straight into a trap. Hoseok said finally, arms crossed tightly over his chest. We are, said the woman, calm as ever. But sometimes the only way out is through. Jin scoffed. That's a poetic way of saying we're screwed. Namjoon clenched the steering wheel harder. If they knew about the safe house, why let us get this far? Because they want the world to see us fall, Jungkook murmured. They want a public failure, a final broadcast that ends with blood on the floor and cameras rolling. Are you saying they're planning to film us? Jimin asked. They already are, Jungkook said. Have you noticed how easy it's been? The train, the escape, the sudden sniper, it's all too clean, like someone's directing it. You think we're in a goddamn reality show, Taehyung said, disgusted. No, Jungkook said. Worse, a warning. They drove in silence again. The wind howled louder now. Jimin leaned forward. What happened in that facility, Jungkook? You told me you faked loyalty to escape, but I don't believe that's the whole story. Jungkook didn't look back. His jaw tightened. They tried to break me, with pain, isolation, memory loops. They put me in a white room for days, no sound, no time. Then they'd show me footage of all of you, over and over, rewritten memories, edited betrayals. You, Jimin, shooting me in the back. Namjoon signing orders to erase my personality. Jin watching as they injected me. I knew they weren't real, but part of me started to believe it. That's psychological warfare, Namjoon muttered. They wanted to install something, Jungkook said. A failsafe, a kill switch. I overheard one of the doctors call it trigger protocol. It sits dormant until activated by a specific emotion. What emotion? Jimin asked, breath caught in his throat. Jungkook finally turned to face them. Betrayal. A chill swept through the van like a ghost. Taehyung leaned forward. How would it activate? I don't know, Jungkook said. Maybe a word, a moment, something personal. All I know is that once it activates, I'm no longer me. Jimin stared at him. You mean they could turn you into a weapon? Jungkook nodded once. No, Jimin said. We're not going to let that happen. You said they made a mistake, that you remembered. That means your mind is stronger than what they built. I hope you're right, Jungkook whispered. Because if I lose control, I need you to stop me. Jimin's voice broke. Don't ask me that. You'll know it's me if I hesitate, Jungkook said. But if I don't, then it's not me anymore. The safe house sat buried beneath a crumbling warehouse on the outskirts of Busan, guarded by rust and time. They parked in silence. The woman led them through a hatch disguised as a drainage grate. Metal stairs spiraled down, deep into the earth. The temperature dropped with every step. Once inside, the underground compound flickered to life. Steel walls, monitors, a console with satellite uplinks. Maps, data streams, encryption servers. This wasn't just a hideout. This was a war room. The woman turned to them. You have 5 hours before the signal window opens. After that, the global relay systems will be watching. You want the truth to go viral. This is your shot. Namjoon stepped forward. We need to verify the files first, and we need a decoy upload path. I can help with that, said a voice from the shadows. Everyone froze. A man stepped into the dim light. Mid-30s, tall, lean, haunted eyes. Jungkook's breath caught. You're supposed to be dead. I was, the man said. But Seraphim didn't finish the job. I was subject 0. His name was Daniel Kwon, a failed prototype. They sat around the central table as he told his story. How Seraphim began over a decade ago as a psychological optimization program for elite performers. How it evolved into something far more sinister, memory sculpting, synthetic loyalty, trauma induction, all in the name of compliance. How many were there? Jin asked, his voice low. Hundreds, Daniel said. Some died during testing, others were erased, minds wiped clean, and a few of us, we ran. Why us? Taehyung asked. Why idols? Because no one questions perfection, Daniel said. Because when you smile, millions follow, and because obedience hidden behind beauty is the most effective kind of control. The plan was simple. Stream the data globally with authenticated timestamps and video. Leak footage. Play the corrupted therapy sessions. Let the world see what Seraphim did in the name of influence. But Jungkook was shaking. Quietly, almost imperceptibly. Jimin was the first to notice. He reached for his shoulder. Kook. Jungkook looked up. His eyes were wrong. Flat. Mechanical. Daniel's face turned to stone. Get away from him. Jimin's heart stopped. No, he's fine, he's just... Jungkook stood abruptly. Too fast, movement stiff, programmed. Taehyung stepped back. What the hell is happening? The woman reached for her pistol. Triggers live. No, no, Jimin shouted. He's fighting it, look at him. Jungkook's hands clenched into fists. His breath was ragged, eyes flickering between horror and blankness. A war inside him. Shut it down, Namjoon ordered. There is no shutdown, Daniel said grimly. It's embedded. Jimin moved closer, tears brimming. Kook, listen to me. You're stronger than this. You've always been stronger. They don't own you. You broke them. You came back. Jungkook's jaw trembled. Don't let them win, Jimin whispered. Don't let them take you from us. For a moment, he was still. Then he collapsed to his knees, choking. And sobbing. I remembered the sound, he gasped. The sound of you screaming, in the loop, over and over. They made me think I killed you. Jimin dropped to the ground, wrapping his arms around him. You didn't. You're here. You're with me. And finally, Jungkook broke. The trigger deactivated. The silence afterward felt heavier than any scream. 3 hours remained. And now the world would hear everything. A low hum filled the war room. Monitors flashed lines of code, satellites rotated in sequence, countdown clocks blinked. 1 hour left until the global relay link opened, giving them a single window to upload every hidden document, every corrupted file, every second of tortured footage. This was it. No rehearsals, no retakes, no escape once it began. Jungkook sat against the cold steel wall, a towel draped around his shoulders. His face was pale, drenched in sweat, but the vacancy had left his eyes. Now there was only fire, smoldering and quiet. Jimin sat beside him, knees bent to his chest, watching him breathe. You fought it, Jimin said softly, barely above a whisper. You beat it. Jungkook didn't respond right away. His eyes flicked upward to the ceiling, as if trying to see beyond it. Maybe to the place they used to be, on stage, in lights, not in hiding, not hunted. I don't know if I beat it, he finally said. I just remembered you, that's what broke it. Jimin smiled, but it was tight, cracked at the edges. Then remember me again, when we go live, if they try anything else. Across the room, Daniel was working furiously, decrypting final archive folders, his fingers flying across keys like he hadn't slept in days. Jin and Hoseok monitored transmission paths while Taehyung double-checked backup drives. Namjoon stood at the center, overseeing the entire operation. His expression had hardened, his leadership no longer poetic or theoretical. It was necessity now, war-forged. They've started their defense, Jin said suddenly, eyes locked on the screen. The media's releasing preemptive headlines, smear campaigns, mental health crises, drug rumors, unstable behavior from the idols. They're trying to discredit us before we open our mouths. They're cornered, Namjoon replied. They're afraid, that's good. It won't be enough, Daniel warned. If the broadcast doesn't land clean, they'll bury it. Frame it as a hoax, say we were hacked, call it CGI. You need to speak. Live, faces, voices, confessions. The world needs to feel it. No scripts then, Taehyung said. Just truth. Jimin stood. Let me go first. Everyone looked at him. He nodded slowly. They took pieces of us, but they didn't take our voices. 15 minutes before the window. The camera was set. A plain background. No filters, no stylists, just raw light and haunted faces. Jimin sat in front of it. He stared directly into the lens. Then he exhaled, long and trembling. My name is Park Jimin. He paused. I was 13 when I signed my first contract. I thought I was joining a dream. I didn't know I was volunteering for a prison built from expectations and silence. He looked down, swallowed hard. They told us we were being optimized, that every test, every scan, every sleepless night was part of the system, that it was necessary, that the pain would make us perfect. I believed them, until I started forgetting things, until the dreams came, until Jungkook vanished. The feed expanded. Jungkook joined him, sitting close, not touching but near. They erased parts of our minds, Jungkook said, modified our behavior, embedded emotional triggers. I was subjected to something called trigger protocol. They tried to turn me into a weapon. His voice cracked. I almost hurt him, the one person who never gave up on me. Jimin placed a hand on Jungkook. They built us to entertain you, but they also built us to obey, and when we stopped obeying, they turned on us. The camera held steady. Then Namjoon stepped into frame. I am Kim Namjoon, he said. I spent years telling myself I was in control, that I was choosing this life. But I was, none of us were. The others joined one by one. No theatrics, just truths. Daniel activated the encryption pipeline. The countdown hit 0. And the feed went live. Within seconds, the signal was mirrored through hundreds of dummy accounts, flooding every major platform, from South Korea to Brazil to Cairo to Los Angeles. The broadcast pierced the algorithmic fog like a lightning bolt. Fans stopped scrolling. Parents stared in disbelief. News anchors choked mid-sentence. Within 10 minutes, hashtags eclipsed every trending topic. Seraphim exposed. They were controlled. Not just idols. And then the footage rolled. The therapy sessions. The compliance training. The sleep deprivation loops. The whispering voices saying, smile wider, feel nothing, forget who you are. A tidal wave of outrage exploded across the globe. But then came the crash. The feed stuttered. The screens flickered. Daniel's fingers flew. They're attacking the signal, full counterstrike. Someone found the relay. Switch to backup, Namjoon ordered. Already trying. A new error appeared. Remote override detected. Control breach in progress. Then something worse. CCTV footage of the safe house appeared, live on major broadcasts, from their own vents, their own walls. They were being streamed. They flipped it on us, Daniel whispered. They're showing the world us, right now. Hosok stared at the screen. They're painting us as terrorists. Rebels hiding underground, Jin added, voice shaking. They're spinning it faster than we can keep up, the woman muttered. They anticipated this. This was always part of their plan. Jimin stood again, eyes wild. We don't stop. We finish what we started. No, a voice said from the doorway. A figure walked in, slow and silent. Not one of them. Security breach. Namjoon reached for a weapon too late. The figure lifted a small device, pressed a button. A sharp pulse echoed in the room, like a scream without sound. Jungkook froze. His spine went rigid. His pupils dilated. No, Jimin whispered. No, don't. Jungkook's mouth opened, but no words came. He turned and aimed a gun at Daniel. Everyone shouted. The room erupted. Don't shoot, Namjoon screamed. Jungkook, look at me, Jimin yelled. Jungkook's arm trembled. Sweat poured from his face. A vein in his temple bulged. Then, the gun fell from his hand. He collapsed to his knees and screamed. A raw, animal sound that tore through the air like thunder. The signal held. The world saw. Everything. And then the feed cut. The safe house plunged into silence. Smoke. Tears. Breaths held. He had resisted. Again. Outside, the servers burned. But the truth had already been set loose. And now, the world had to decide what it would do with it.